get some fucking tunes going. Needle! Hilly! Hilly! What are you doing? Alright. Alright guys. We're about 15 minutes out from Zwift Nats. Getting the warm-up ready. Whew. Should be a real hard day. Alright guys, we're about 6 minutes out. Gonna get some water. Alright, guys. It's time. Alright. So this, guys, this is pretty much the start house, start gate. So all of these people, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with Zwift, these are all Canadians from obviously all over Canada, sitting in their basement or their living room or their home gym or whatever, ready to battle it out for the first ever Zwift Canadian Nationals. Should be a pretty mixed field, I think, but my whole team is lining up, so if you see anybody with the real deal Aquila, you'll see it over my name, you'll see it over Ed, Patrick, Tim, there's a bunch of us in here. We'll be going up against some pretty strong individuals, I would assume. I think Bruce Bird will be in here. The Quebec provincial team, I'm seeing a few riders already that I recognize. Should be a very interesting race. We're doing the volcano circuit, which I've only done once or twice before, and it basically finishes each lap with a good, I would say for mortals, a 10-minute climb. And just another thing, guys, in order to be entered for the results, anybody can race, but in order to be entered for the results, you have to have all of your data public. So you guys can see up there or up there. I've got my power, got my heart rate, got my cadence, and then I've had to put in my appropriate weight. So this morning we woke up, we weighed in at 142 pounds. So I don't know if I'm a little bit dehydrated. That's about 4 pounds less than the last time I weighed myself, which was, I think, Tuesday. That said, I have done 12 hours on the bike since Tuesday, so could be a combination of dehydration and just a large training block, just stripping off some of that excess body fat. So that's where we're in this morning. We're in at 142 pounds. And hopefully everybody else has been honest, because that does heavily skew the the way the game perceives your effort. We're about 20 seconds out, guys. Not sure how much I'm going to be able to talk. Probably try not to talk that much once we get going here. And hopefully it's not a fucking shit show right out of the gates. But my max heart rate just before we start is 192 beats. If I'm getting up there, it's because I'm hurting. Alright. We don't want to be back here. Pretty aggressive start, I would say. We've obviously missed the front group, but you guys can see above, we've got 40.7 miles to go. So I think at the end of the day, a lot of people will get shelled off that initial pace, and going into the red right off the gun is a really good way to just let your heart rate slide away from you. And for those of you who are unaware, endurance athletics is very, obviously it's aerobically intensive, but the minute details of how hard you're working really play a long-term effect. So, getting above threshold, which for me is above 171 beats per minute, you know you're in trouble. So, your body at that point really begins to dig into its glycogen reserves, which you need to produce high wattage. So, for me to have made that front split, I would have had to probably put in a good 5 minutes well above threshold, which, I mean, we'll have to see. This is either going to fuck me and I've lost the race already completely, or other guys will steadily fall off the pace. And our large chase group here of about 40 guys who have started it a little bit easier will still have some in the tank, because where I stand right now, that gap is already up to about 30 seconds. There's no way one rider can bridge to 100. So we're going to keep it at sweet spot here and get through this race. Forgot a towel. Fuck. Now the game, for those of you who are cyclists, you're obviously aware of this pretty key principle called drafting. The game absolutely takes that into account. So I'm able to do, whereas you see me on the front of the group, I'm doing 260 watts. I'm sitting here pretty comfortably doing about 200. So it's like a big chess match on wheels, guys. So I really don't want to be in front ever. We'll see if these guys can keep up this pace. So you guys can see this is a pretty comfortable pace for me. My heart rate is starting to settle, which is great. There's somebody who's just been shelled. So that's the problem, guys. Long race. This guy's looking to have a go off the front. I don't know why. We'll see what we can do on the climb here. We're about 2K from the climb. But again, it's more beneficial to me to stay at this pace and let this group steadily reel people back in. So the game, just a little bit more explanation here, guys, does a really good job of communicating to your trainer. The trainer is powered, they connect via Bluetooth. So the game, if you see me go up a hill, the trainer will increase the resistance in accordance with the gradient, and it makes me feel like I'm going up a hill. So that's where the difficulty comes in. So this right turn coming up is the start of the climb. I'm okay with being at the front here, just so I can maintain a steady pace and then slip back through the group if I need to. 37 miles to go. So it's close to 100K today, guys. So you can see in the top right, we're up to about 6% gradient. So you can see that my wattage has gone up, and so is my heart rate. And I am going to stay with the front group here at all costs, because we'll shell some riders here for sure. This guy right here, with the X beside his name, MDX. He's clearly riding for Team Experimental. They're a pretty strong Zwift organization. So we're gonna stay on his wheel and do whatever he does. So it looks like the front group, you guys can see in the right there, the time split. Some riders already getting shelled. They've got about a minute. So as that pace stays really high, their group will shrink, just because you have to be a really elite level rider. Those guys are doing right now, I'm doing between 3 and 4 watts per kilogram. Those guys are all doing closer to 5, just to maintain that gap. And that's really, that's real professional level. So as that group begins to shatter, we'll pick up guys, and theoretically their gap will come down, or it won't, and we'll all be racing for 100th, which is entirely possible. I don't know, this is not, I can't see any of the riders up front. I don't know who's all in the race, how strong those guys are. But right now we're sitting pretty comfortable. We're in zone 2 power right now, which is amazing. Literally running on pure aerobic power right now. Whereas I'm sure some of these guys are dipping into their sweet spot, dipping into their into their threshold. And you guys can see at the bottom of the screen this color-coded sort of side scroller that keeps coming across. Those are my wattage numbers. So when you see it spike to orange or yellow, that's in and around my threshold, and then slightly above. Anything below that, that's money. So this is the start of the climb. And it's about 10 minutes. And every time you turn it on, so as you can see, we've literally shattered this group already. There are some riders over 3 seconds back, which is a big gap. 27 meters, that's like ten bike lengths, maybe more. And as you can see, that gap to the front group is coming down already. We've got riders up the road at 31 seconds. So perhaps it was in my best interest to start off a little slower. So guys, in these bottles, I've got about a good teaspoon to a tablespoon of sugar in each one, just for that raw energy later on in the race. Yeah, so a lot of these guys up the road, we're really starting to see riders start to fall off that front group pace, which is amazing, because that means we're coming. We're coming, baby. And I don't care about people passing me right now, nothing. Or being the guy to set the tempo, because I'm doing beauty right now. I'm able to pretty much steadily talk to you guys, so Zada might be looking at me to pee in a cup after this, but these guys who have been shelled and are rejoining our group, they're hurting, and that's all good. So just up the road here, our first 2 riders to come back. It'll be interesting to see if they have anything to contribute to the chase, or if they're just fucked and they went way too hard at the beginning. "33 miles left." Try and keep the cadence nice and high. Again, we're just going to stay with this team experimental guy. Two dudes have just shut off the front of our group here to bridge to these riders coming back. Huge mistake. That's our front group. So there is a good chance that group will stay away. Or at least maybe a small portion of them. So, but as you can see, guys, these are all riders who have been just exploded off the back of that front group. And we're about to make a turn. And we're picking up guys left and right. Massive gradient kick to the line here. We'll sail past some of these fuckers. All right. Just to update you guys, we have to do that whole climb 2 more times. And I believe it is a mountaintop finish. Still 31 miles to go. All right, so we're settled. We're still on the first lap. I wouldn't be surprised if right now we're looking at a top 30 finish. So out of 170 to start, we'll finish in the top 30. I do think, just based on that really hard start, that the field has shattered too much and we shelled too many guys from the chase group to really bring them back. But there's still just under 30 miles to go. So about another hour. So we will see how I end up feeling and how the guys at the front end up feeling. Again, just being around the front of the group, but trying to never take the wind. I don't want it. When my character, this blonde savage in the all black, is kind of like, he's sitting up, that means I'm in the draft. So I'm saving energy. If you ever see me down in the drops or arms bent, that means I'm going, my character is taking the full brunt of the wind, and it's actually costing me a lot of energy. Extra energy. So our chase group here, we're about 12, maybe 14 strong. We've got another group of riders just up the road here. And it does look like, you know, we're still putting out a decent group wattage. Alright, so I'm in the wind now. I'm going to nudge it just a little bit to see if we can catch these riders up front. Yes, and we get the arrow, which is great. That's probably the best power up you can get. Oh, guys, I don't know. The next group is 1:15 up the road. And the group behind us is 1:17 back. Although we're putting time on these guys, so maybe they're down to 1:08 already. Alright, so we gotta show some initiative here because we don't want the group to slow. Alright, so these guys using their power-ups right now means that they are of a probably zero use to me. They're using those for that small rise because they are probably really hurting. So we gotta bridge this gap right now. Holy shit. "40 seconds to the next chase group." Attaboy. "30 seconds back, and this guy wants help." Huge pull. So it's up to MD right now, because I pulled to bring us back to Feister. I really don't want to. Fuck. Oh, boys, we are starting to suffer. No, that is critical. Oh, nice! Alright, guys. I'd say we're pretty fucked. We missed it. Missed the boat today. The race has shattered into just too many groups to count. We got one lap left. I think we're about five minutes or so off the pace of the front group, which means that there's about a 0% chance that we are catching them. So interesting experience, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the commentary, and we'll see what we can do here in the final lap. The next group up the road is 2 minutes 20 seconds. I don't know if that's catchable. Okay. Guy back here shattering the group on us. Alright, so we are 9 minutes. We're 9 minutes back, guys. Alright, so I would pretty much say that today, you know, we weren't looking for a result. This is just a good, fun, inaugural national championships for Canada on the old Zwift. And I'm sure there are plenty of guys who have been tapering for this event. They care, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think that's amazing. Obviously, this has been a hard ride. For those guys up in the front group, they must be just hammering. So kudos to them for being in great form right now. But I think for a lot of us, this is February. We're still about a month out from our earliest road race here in Ontario. And I would assume that's the same for most people across Canada. So, not a target, just a bit of fun. And as you guys can tell, we certainly didn't bonk, we didn't hit the wall. We just missed it at the start, and that was kind of tricky to see. Everybody kind of starts in that big blob, and everybody's going pretty nuts. And then the next thing you know, you're looking up the road and there's this massive split. So there's really nothing, you know what I mean? Like I said, you're not going to bridge that gap alone. And if you do, you're just going to explode, hit the wall, and you're not even going to finish. So we got a bit caught out there at the beginning, but at this point it's pretty much just a chill gruppetto into the finish, and hopefully we can stay away from this chase group behind us, and I can take these guys to the line for 70th place. But yeah, we did have 100. 1 second. Yeah, so we did have 172 riders that started the event. It looks like we've already gotten up to 25 DNFs, so did not finish. Guys who have just decided they're going to pull the plug. So we'll finish just inside the top half of the field, which would have preferred that top 50 or top 30 like I said earlier, but the race has played out massively differently than I would have anticipated. So we got about 11 miles to go, 20 or so K. it looks like that MD experimental rider has pulled the plug, literally. Probably realized the same, that we missed it, and he literally unplugged his trainer and threw in the towel. So it is what it is. Okay guys, we're gonna give him the dicking on this here climb. Fuck. All right. Okay. Let's regroup that a little bit before we end the stream, and then before I head out for another 3 fun-filled hours on the road. So, I don't know. Stay. Where's my stool? No stool. Okay. We'll rope it in the old chair. So, tried to give it some gas there for you guys at the end, just to have a little bit of fun. That ended up feeling definitely a little bit, taxing, I would say, towards the end there. But really crazy start, I would say. Just to recap, that whole initial scenario where everybody comes out of the gates and you're trying to find out if it's going to be a ridiculous start or if it's not, and then the next thing you know, there's a group of, like, the group of 175 guys has been split in half, like, right off the gun. That'll only ever happen in a Zwift race, right? There's that type of confusion where you can't really figure out what's going on. That would never happen out on the road. And that caught us out there for sure. Like, caught us right out. That was, and like I said, once you realize that the gap to the front group is a minute, for a guy like me, on a flat course like this, where obviously weight and all that good stuff is factored in, that you're looking at me having to do, 800 watts, 600 watts for at least a couple of minutes to bridge that gap solo. So I lost that there in the opening seconds. Not that I was ever going to win, because the guys who who took that W there. Bruce Bird, he's world champion, Masters world champion 3 times in a row. I mean, that guy, and he didn't even win. He came second. He was back 9 seconds from some dude B Boniface or whatever, from Applewood Smoked Bacon or wherever the hell he was from. So, you know, all in all, it seemed like those guys up front are in some really, really good form, and they're producing some huge watts. I think we did there for 20 minutes. Our 20-minute power was 270 watts or 270, you know, maybe for even longer. I don't know. We were hanging out. I'll upload the file later onto my Strava. Obviously, that's part of the deal with getting results here, so I may end up getting bumped up a few places if some guys turn out to be weight doping, or they don't have heart rate, or their trainer isn't calibrated properly, whatever. There's all types of reasons why a race like this, the placings shake out the way they shake out. So we'll wait to see the final results. Hopefully they'll be up on Zwift Power later tonight. But as it stands right now, we came 69th out of 172 riders, and we were 9 minutes back from the win. So, you know, at the end of the day, just some really good training. I wouldn't say that I gassed myself. I wouldn't say that I ever got dropped or couldn't, you know, we fought it out there, and I think the takeaways there are you race it smart, because a lot of those guys who DNF'd, they went out too hard, or they tried to bridge across. They didn't make proper use of the strategy of cycling, of working together with the group that you're in, which is why I think until I really decided to give it a go on that last climb, and even then I only managed to get a gap of that Richards guy. Really fucked me over. He was pretty strong there towards the end, and he was able to he couldn't bridge to me until he finally bridged, but what that unfortunately did was it's like the carrot, right? If you see something, so when I went and made that first initial move, putting out about 500 or so watts to create that initial 8-second gap up the climb, that Richards guy upped his tempo, and he rode a 4.6 watts per kilogram across to me over the course of a minute. But what that did is it kind of like extrapolated it. So I attacked, and then he followed, and then he was able to be the carrot for the rest of that small chase group to just stay just enough potentially in his draft or within motivation to all bring us back together as we're coming into that sprint. So obviously that didn't pan, and then I just said, okay, you're coming into the finish. I would classify myself as a sprinter. My sprint is pretty darn good. And even going against those two jokers with fucking arrow power-ups, which are insanely overpowered in this game, insanely, we were still managed to take the win. We took the group finish there, nicked them at the line, which is great. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with still being the best of that small group, because like I said, maybe if the front shakes out, if the start is a little bit more controlled, who knows who's where, right? It'll be very interesting to see if any of those guys are out racing on the road, or if they're just Zwift heroes, or what. I know Bruce Bird, obviously proven road racer. My team captain Ed Veal, he came 9th today. Amazing road rider and current hour record holder for Team Canada, and the world for Masters, I think 40 to 45. I'm not sure exactly, but I believe that's correct. So these guys, there are guys that I know that are in the top 10, in the top 20, who are amazing road riders on the actual road. It'll be very interesting to see if I recognize any of those names once the season starts for us here in earnest. So that's probably going to wrap it up for today, ladies and gentlemen. If you're checking this out post-broadcast, it's probably going to get taken down because the entire the entire stream. I've been running obviously a lot of copyrighted music, so I wouldn't plan on seeing this again. So if you did check it out, you did tune in, you're here till the end. I have no idea. I can't see the stream. I'm not obviously not a streamer. I'm a bike rider, so I don't really know what the hell is going on. But if you did if you did, I'm getting a phone call right now. If you did tune in and check it out, thanks, and I hope you enjoyed. Anyways, that's me, Charlie Kent, signing out. Ciao.